What is up, maniacs? Welcome back to WMMAnia. This is episode 49. We are here on Tuesday, February 7th. I'm your host, as always, Drake Riggs, here to bring you the latest and greatest in the world of mixed martial arts when it comes to the ladies specifically. We have a pretty solid show for you today. We are making up, obviously, for the week off last week. Man, it feels like quite a while since the last show because of that gap in time. But we will be covering the news that has happened in the 2 weeks since the last show. And we'll be recapping Black Combat 5, as well as Bellator 290. Just one fight for each of those events this past weekend, as you can see on our thumbnail here. And then we'll be previewing Deep 112 Impact, as well as UFC 284, and just one fight apiece on those as well. So, pretty tight, compact, comfy lineup. A good little bit of news, along with our usual recapping and previewing. So, yeah, good stuff to look forward to. And of course, feel free to get in your questions, comments, or concerns throughout the show, as always. But of course, you guys, do not forget, if you do enjoy the show, whether you're a new viewer or a reoccurring viewer, make sure you follow us, like, share, and subscribe on all platforms for WMMAnia.com. And you can also hit that notification bell here on YouTube so you don't miss a gosh darn thing. Why would you want to miss anything that we are doing over here? There's so much going on all the time in the MMA world. That's why I was gone last week. We were in Los Angeles for Bellator 290, Fedor's farewell, and obviously we'll get into Bellator 290 more here in a moment. But crazy, crazy times, you guys. Very crazy times in the big wide world, as always. So, how are we doing? How are we doing on this Tuesday? Good to be back. Rain bringing the heat right away. It says, to the original MMA Today and Maniac peeps, the Synchro wing of using the search engine Bing, the Jimmy Kudo of using Judo, the Riosos and Truesdale of pushing out a heavy hay bale. Wow, look at this guy. Always on point. The Callum Smith of girth and width, the Jin Karasu of partying with the Who. There we go. Took this one from Dan Tom, Ryan, the Masturbator. Yes, that was that's his unofficial nickname for sure. And if you haven't seen, I talked to Bader about that ahead of his Corey Anderson fight. In, what was that? Was that 2021 now? My goodness, time flies. But I did ask him about that in an interview. So if you go to my channel, my personal channel, my Drake Riggs YouTube channel, you look through the fighters interview chat playlist, you'll find it in there. You just got to scroll a little bit. Or maybe if you search both of our names, it'll probably come up. But funny story that he told about that one. So very cleverly worded stuff from Mr. Bader, and congrats to him on the big win once again. Only man to defeat Fedor twice. My goodness. Let's see. Rio, good to see you. Says, why did you say last week? Week before, we missed last week, that me and James going around and arguing with people with bad takes about our favorite fighters not healthy. We also call out the media who perpetuate these takes. I mean, I just don't think I don't think it's ever good to get wrapped up in any type of internet drama, honestly. And I understand the point, but I mean, again, it's all opinion, right? Saying somebody has a bad take is an opinion. That's your opinion. There's no right or wrong to it. Of course, you can disagree all you want. That's your opinion, right? So what's it going to solve? What's the point? To change their minds? Like, what does that solve? Then it's not going to change everybody. I don't know. That's just, I've always felt that's a bit of a waste of energy. Sure, if you can have a good constructive back and forth, that's always good and healthy, but just arguing, you literally say arguing right here. Like, I don't think that's not a thing for me. So, Jin, how are you doing? Hello, the only resource for the ladies. Well, we try over here. Rain says, so he asked Dan Tom, shout out to Dan, of course, about Zhang versus Andrade 2. He said that it's an extremely tough fight for Andrade. He doesn't know if Andrade can make the proper adjustments to her style to adapt from the first fight. He suggested to wrestle, but that's a double-edged sword since Wade is picking up wrestling at a high level. Agreed. Striking-wise, he said Andrade needs to stay away from that since her striking and lack of craft is what got her trouble in the first fight, of course. So maybe Ghost has a point. Maybe that rematch isn't as close as everyone seems to think it is. My whole thing has always been that it's closer than the first one. That's really all I've said about it. But doesn't mean it would be close necessarily. Sorry, my cat he's chilling on how my room is set up. The bathroom is right there, and I have the door open, and he's like on the counter today for whatever reason. So slightly distracting, but that's all right. Sintro, Drake Riggs, that is I. Good to see you, my friend. Jimmy says thoughts on Stephen A. Smith style hot takes. I mean, I don't really like Stephen A. Smith in general for anything. I mean, he knows more about football. Obviously, he's not an MMA guy. We know this. I actually haven't heard too many of like his hot takes. And again, like the thing about takes, like I mentioned to what was it to Rio, it's all opinions. So as long as they believe it, if you're not just saying shit to say shit, like fuck out of here with that. But if you believe it, then all right, go for it. But if you're faking it, like I feel like somebody like Skip Bayless is not very genuine and just not a great person in general. Then yeah, but I actually don't see too much from Steven. Haven't seen too much generally. James says, I think it's pretty fair to ask since you didn't answer my email. What should Whaley go? What should Whaley do to get the good graces of the media? Stop being from China. I've never thought that's had anything to do with it. The fans, some fans you could certainly say that for, obviously, but I think we've talked about this plenty of times, James. And accessibility is a big thing. It always helps to learn English to then do the interviews and stuff. But the more that fighters interact and make themselves accessible and want to put themselves out there, and I understand why they wouldn't. Like if I was in that position, I probably wouldn't do very much media either. Kind of depends, right? Depends on the situation. I mean, I don't even do too many guest spots anymore at this point in my own career. But, the more insight you have about somebody, the more it's easy to relate and kind of just know things. Because for the most part, as you guys know, it's all speculation. A lot of it's speculation that people might say or criticize her for without actually knowing, because they don't get to talk to her. And, maybe that's not her fault, or maybe it is. Who knows? I can't say. I've tried. I know that I've tried since I last talked to her. But yeah, even for people who have talked to her, unless you're like Ariel or somebody, it's just not easy. So yeah, I guess that would just be the big thing, accessibility. There's really, even though I wouldn't say she's not in the good graces. I think you guys are really making that part up. Trust me, as somebody who's in it, I feel like you really go the wrong direction sometimes. Respectfully. Barton, how are you doing? Hello. Are people excited for 284? Seems like a lot of my friends are, but when I look at that, MMA are complaining about it. I haven't seen that either. I really miss a lot of this stuff. So you guys bring to me a very different perspective. I think, yeah, people are definitely excited for 284, especially the main event. I haven't seen any complaining though, aside from like maybe promotion. I know that's the thing that Islam was talking about, but seems fine to me. James says, I think this is pretty fair to ask since you didn't answer my email. Watch. I answered that already. Repeat. Jimmy, Drake is genuine. That's why we love him. I try to be, man. I've only always ever been that way. I appreciate it very much. Yeah, I don't see any point in faking stuff or being a character or whatever, unless it's obvious, right? Like I've done some acting type things in the past and it's always really fun, but when it's happening, right? I'm not going to pretend something's real if it's not. I'm not going to tell you lies. I'm going to give you my honest thoughts and feelings on things, even if I don't disagree, but I'm never going to be an asshole about it unless you are first, right? Like all fairness, I try to say. James says, but I see stuff that MMA just makes stuff up about her. That doesn't seem fair, right? But I mean, that happens to everybody, unfortunately. And it's also not everybody who's doing it at the same time. So you can't put everyone in the same bubble. So if you're not accessible, can media just say whatever they want? No, never said that. Not at all what I said. But again, that's what I said, the speculation part, right? People there are assumptions or stuff made up, maybe unintentionally, or again, I can't speak for anybody who might do whatever they do, but it's speculated because you don't know. You don't get that. You don't get it from the source itself, right? Because that person's maybe not accessible. You got to understand that part of it. Like that website, we don't like. Well, that's the worst one, right? Like they do that for literally everybody in the worst ways. It's can't even, don't even. Yeah, it's that's uncomparable. they just do that for fucking views, and it's blatantly obvious. Rio says, I disagree. We look at everything the media says about ways, so I can throw it back when they are proven wrong. Well, I mean, I do trust you there. I believe you with that regard. Jin says, why don't you see the stuff we bring up? Seems like common stuff. Well, again, as Rio just pointed out, you guys follow it a whole lot closer, whereas I follow everything as much as I can, and don't kind of specifically go out of my way for when I do that, I'm looking to see what he's doing. Throwing me off again. I don't go to these general bubbles really anymore like maybe I used to when I wasn't as busy. So my stuff is a whole lot more surface level to an extent. Depends on certain stuff, but honestly, you guys, I'm going to tell you this honestly. The only time I see or have any Whaley conversations that aren't around like fight week or whenever, like let's say going back to the last fight, like 2-3 weeks after that, from that point to now, it's only like you guys. I don't see anything. She's barely brought up like on my timelines or anything. So I don't see any of this stuff. And like, yeah, I follow her on Instagram and stuff, but that's it. Like only, and then obviously shout out to our friend, the Zhao Ping channel page. She that's like it. I keep my my tidiness. I have some OCD with my my cleanliness on the timeline and stuff, so I don't just follow a bunch of randos. But yeah, that's kind of how my stuff looks. So it's maybe common for you, Jin, and you guys. Of course, it's hardcore. It's like, trust me, when I was in the peak of my Dominic Cruz fandom, I was the exact same way. But it's just not the case anymore. As Ghost says, I don't understand what was offensive about saying what's important is the creative game plans that Whaley's team comes up with and whether she can execute them or not. I don't know either. I do not recall. Just as we are on Reddit a lot, that's where, well, yeah, Reddit's just a terrible place in general. I mean, I will never, ever, I mean, the last time I tried to get on the MMA Reddit, first of all, they're fucking dictators over there, the goddamn moderators and shit. So that's annoying. But just Reddit as a whole, I have never liked Reddit ever since I saw that they had an exclusive section to like fucking gore videos and like what were they called? Who was some terrorist organization like those? You remember when they were doing those videos that well, not I'm going off on a serious tangent here, but they would show some really fucked up stuff there that does not sit well with me. I don't know if I heard that they don't do that anymore, but the fact that that was even allowed at a point, was it ISIS videos, I think. Now, not getting political whatsoever, but I'm just saying Reddit factually did allow and post. They had a section dedicated to that type of stuff, and that is extremely fucked up to me. So I've never been really a Reddit fan since discovering that. So my tangent for the week is over. Jen says, and the boys who clip various stuff from the media that they say about her. Okay. Hey, Mary, how are you doing? Yes, it has been a long time now. Goes says, you don't remember you stopped reading when you saw that comment on the essay. What we said, what's important is the creative game plans that Whaley's team comes up with, or whether she. I don't remember that part, Ghost, but seeing that now, that specific part doesn't seem offensive. I'd have to go back and look. Like, honestly, you guys, so much goes on in my life these days. I'm sorry if I do forget some of these things. And I know that was only 2 weeks ago, but yeah. And James says the W MMA Reddit is the most horrible. At least they let me post my stuff there. At least they let me post my interviews, unlike the other one. But yeah, I only go there to I go in, drop it, and leave. I don't spend any time in there. So I guess I kind of defeat my own point there with my Reddit comments, but still, I'm not a big fan. So, anyways, 15 minutes in, 50 minutes down. Always how we like to open the show, getting our greetings back and forth. But let's get into the recaps now, you guys, as we did have just 2 fights this past weekend. As I said, and this one snuck up on me. I had no idea that this fight was happening. So big shame on me for not realizing that Saori Oshima was in action this week at Black Combat 5. So they were doing kind of a Deep Jewels Black Combat cross promotion a little bit here. From what I was seeing, they had some other of the men's fighters go over and fight. But Saori Oshima, the current microweight and atomweight champion of Deep Jewels, went over to take on Yirin Hong, who she defeated via third round submission. Arm bar, not arm ba. I left the R out there. Let me put that in. There we go. And where is our screenshot? Right there. Third round armbar for the double champ. One of the best in the world, obviously. Saori Oshima. And my goodness, this first of all, I'll say this fight is on YouTube now. So if you didn't catch the event live, which I'm sure all of you who are watching probably didn't, unless you are some serious dedicated Korean fans or Japanese fans, whichever, because this event was in South Korea. Video, the fight is now on YouTube, so you can watch that at whatever point. If you just search Saori Oshima and kind of scroll a little bit, you will end up finding it. But Black Combat 5, or Black Combat in general, they have a huge cage. Like, it was very large. Crowd was pretty into this, though, and it was a very fun fight, very scrambly, very all over the place. And I mean, that is typical for your Saori Oshima fights. We talk about, or at least Ghost has brought up how, Sakezawa, which is true, she will give up bad positions sometimes for the possibility of submissions or whatever, because she's very comfortable in all these positions. But you want to talk about somebody who is that to like the peak degree, it is Saori Oshima. She does not give a shit where she ends up on her back. If she's in mount, working to switch in all over transitions to a side control or what have you, she does not care where she's at as long as she is able to threaten from it. And that this fight was like one of the bigger definitions of that in her career, at least recently. Giving up some takedowns against Hong, whether it was from guillotine attempts or just trying to work arm bars off her back. Like, she does not care. She does not care what position she's in, and that pays off more often than not for her. Like, she got some beautiful sweeps here. We even saw kind of that DDT rollover takedown at one point. Like, this was a very fun and pretty crazy fight, and Hong, did pretty good. Didn't really threaten. I didn't threaten with any serious submissions and whatnot, but put up a pretty decent fight against a fighter she probably shouldn't have. And again, I think that's just because Oshima is so comfortable in letting bad positions happen that it makes her more vulnerable against people she shouldn't be letting have success against her, right? Because Hong, I mean, this should have been a walk in the park. She's like less than 5 fights, I think, but I was able to get in some pretty good spots on top of Oshima, particularly. Landed some nice inside low kicks at a point, but nothing really too, maybe a right hands, but really this was mostly a big scramble fest, which was really fun. Like I said, very chaotic all over the place. And then in the third round, like as soon as it started, pretty much takedown happens, and Saori locks up the armbar beautifully, slowly cranks it. Very anticlimactic ending, though, because I think it was a verbal tap. Couldn't really see the hands, as you can see in the picture here. Couldn't really see where things were going on, so the commentators were kind of confused in all this. But I need to see Oshima versus Izawa like real soon. Like, what are we waiting for? I know I've been saying we should have that Hime rematch. Hime's fighting on the next deep card at strawweight, so I'm pretty sure she's just not gonna I think that was a one and done. So kind of a weird situation where she knocks off and gets the upset over Oshima, but might be done with atom weight. So kind of weird, but at this point, like Oshima's won, I think 3 in a row since then, and she's still, top 3, top 4, top 5 atom weight in the world. I'm down for that one. Like if they don't manage to put together Saka versus Jillian for either an Invicta or a Ryzen show, I think it's time for Oshima versus Saka. And just think about kind of how they can sell that with 4 titles between these 2 champions. Like they're both double champs. It's really kind of crazy. Sari, the microweight and the atom weight champion at Deep Jewels, and then Saka, the Ryzen champ, the #1 best in the world, and then also the strawweight champion of Deep Jewels, which I actually think she's just kind of hanging on to that at the moment. I'd be surprised if she goes and defends that anytime soon, especially when you can have fights like this. It's the fight to make, I think, and it'll be very fun, very, very fun. Scramble fest between those two. My goodness. But I did want to point out too, there was kind of a scarf hold position that Oshima got into at about 2 points in the fight. Well, the one that stood out to me at the end of the second round was when she had it pretty perfectly, like near crucifix, and kind of a crucifix combo with the scarf hold position. But the ground and pound, quote unquote, that she was utilizing, or the punches were, I just don't understand kind of what her thought process was there. She didn't seem too tired, but they were like literally kind of this, like zero damage being done whatsoever. Just annoying Hong. I don't know if elbows were legal or not. Could have got those, blasted them in real nicely, or at least generated some more. She had space to generate some serious thumpers, but that was just a kind of a funny moment to me. Like, I don't know why she didn't drop those harder. Maybe she was just like, all right, it's the end of the round. I'll save my energy. But she had enough time, I think, to get a finish there. Still got it anyway, but that was kind of funny. That was kind of a very funny moment there at the end of the second round. So either way, Sarah Oshima keeps on keeping on. I think it's time for the Sayaka super fight. That's just going to be awesome. It's going to happen eventually. It really will. It's just a matter of when. Appreciate it greatly, Jumbo. Yeah, we don't like no derailing here, please. We do have a lineup. So, comment from a previous show. Yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it though. When do we get it? Says Jen. All right, Oshima, how do we make that happen? Yeah, I mean, the tournament's over now. So I think we're on the right track. I think what's going to happen next is it's going to depend. We have kind of 3 options, I think, for Saka specifically, right? Because Sari, she's obviously off doing her own thing. Should have been a part of the tournament, honestly, right? She definitely should have been a part of the tournament last year. So, actually, I guess there's 4 options. I mean, I don't know. You could go right to. I don't think you should, because now Saka is 2-0 against Park, but the trilogy fight is there. You can make the argument because people thought she should have won. You could jump right. You could just go right back to that. I think we should wait on that. I think Park will probably be fine. She can easily win her way back for the most part. That's a possibility. But the one that I think we got to kind of think about most, or lean towards the most, is Reina versus Sekizawa, because Reina was supposed to fight her, but then had the injury and was unable to continue in the tournament. Reina's a big name. Like, that's just a huge fight to make in Ryzen, is Izawa versus Reina. So I think that's the most likely next option, depending, I guess, on Reina more than anything. Otherwise, I would then go to Oshima, and then the Jillian fight's kind of a real wild card, right? Like, I think, even though Jillian says she's down, and Jillian, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but I feel like she's more inclined to want that to happen in Invicta. And again, I'm not so sure if Ryzen will want that to happen in Invicta first. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's kind of tricky. Trickier situation than you'd maybe expect. But yeah, those are the 4 I think real options for going forward next. I would lean towards Reina if I was to rank them, because we like our numbers here, right? Next fight for Seka, I would say most likely Reina. I'm gonna go Oshima. It's real close between Oshima and the Park trilogy, but I'd put them as 2A, 2B, and then Jillian, I think. So yeah. As Rio says, so Izawa versus Oshima would be great since both give up position scramble to find a sub. Just make it already, like Jin said. Yeah, it would be, man, it would be insane. It will be an insane fight when we do get that. Like, oh, that it's such a fun matchup. Jumbo says, you mentioned in a previous episode that that any other person were to have won a UFC belt from Beijing would also inspire others like Wei Li. Yes, I remember saying that, and I still believe that. Jumbo says, however, I disagree. Like, lots of Chinese fans that we wanted Zhao Nan to lose to Carla as well as Mackenzie. Like, if Zhao Nan won the belt instead of Wei Li, she would not have the same impact as what Wei Li had. There was a big award show on Radi that featured the best athletes from China, and only Wei Li, Tang Kai, and Li Jingliang were nominated for MMA. Not even Jingnan or Zhao Nan made that nomination. That's definitely very interesting and pretty disrespectful to them for sure. But those are also, well, I guess she's UFC too. Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe they wouldn't have the same impact as what Whaley had, but they definitely still would have had a big impact. Like, that's undeniable, I would say. But I believe you know more than I do, Jumbo. So I'm just saying that's how I feel about it. Cintro says, could Oshima versus Izawa end up being awkward kickboxing match or an insane grappling match with lots of positions of craziness? So it's funny, when I was saying that out loud, Synchro, I was thinking like, yeah, they are such crazy fun grapplers that sometimes we know that negates and turns into a kickboxing battle. But I think in the case of both of them, it's always, exactly what you want to do, and they're going to do it no matter what. So yeah, I feel very confident that would end up being a grappling madness. Yeah, like out of all the grappler versus grappler matches you could do, I feel very comfortable about that one. Jimmy says, what about Oshima versus that girl who is a good striker that ghosted play by Phantom Punch on Eru Takabayashi? Yeah, Eru Takabayashi, no, it's too soon for her. And she's fighting on the Deep Jewels card coming up here. What is it? I see if it's on my calendar. Well, whatever the next Deep Jewels card. I was just looking at it this morning. So she's got a fight booked, and she needs to kind of get back in the win column a little bit. She's still very young, Takabayashi is fun, but no, that's a terrible matchup for her. One day though. Jaden, good to see you. New face. Hi, do you do an MMA show as well? Saw you on MMA Fighting Companion. Well, I'm very glad to see you follow it over. Appreciate it greatly, man. So we have here on Mania, MMA Mania, we have this show, of course, and then we also have Broaden Horizon, which is my show about Ryzen / Japanese fighters who were affiliated with Ryzen, or kind of that stuff. So just the two shows that I do have now, but we might be working on something. New coming up here for 2023. So stay tuned for that. But at the moment, Jaden, I just have two shows, which is this one, and then Broaden Horizon specifically, which is a monthly show. This one's weekly. So yes. Yes. Jimmy says, what is Arrow's weak points? What that she does? Her grappling defense is just not very good at the moment. She's very heavily striking based. And I mean, it's slowly improving, but she just gets caught in a lot of has been getting caught in a lot of bad positions and kind of giving up arm bars, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, she just kind of needs to work on keeping people off of her, really, because she's been pretty unmatched in the striking department. But anyways, that was Black Combat 5, you guys. I recommend watching that fight. Like I said, the atmosphere was pretty good for it. I couldn't tell like how many people were there in Korea for that specific event, but it seemed like a good turnout. It was pretty fun. That was a pretty fun fight. And I mean, Saryoshima was just always fun to watch. So definitely go check it out for that. And apparently Hong retired like after the fight. I don't know specifically what happened, but Oshima said that and did like a video about it. So seemed like an emotional thing, but I not 100% on that part. Didn't get to look at that, but yeah, the fight's on YouTube, so definitely check that one out now. Yes. So, all right, let's move on to Bellator 290 from Los Angeles as my stuff glitches here and it's slow. I was in the building for this one. So first event of 2023 in the books for me, as we had what turned into a catchweight bout after Diana Avsaragova missed weight for the first time in her 6-fight career, just 2 pounds over, but still no good. So it was a 128-pound catchweight. They are flyweights normally, of course. But Diana defeated Alejandra Lara via split decision, 229-28 in her favor, and then another one in the opposite direction. So, this fight here, 4-fight losing streak now for Alejandra Lara, and it's a bit of a bummer because I'll just get it right out of the way. High on Diana. Have always enjoyed Lara's striking too, but I disagreed with this one. I thought that Lara did enough to get it done. I gave her 10-9s for rounds 2 and 3. Diana with a strong start. Not necessarily sure I want to say that she faded down the stretch, but I think that her kind of volume declined a little bit, and she was countering beautifully with the right hand kind of the most of the whole fight, really, as you can see in the screenshot here as well. Let's see if I can zoom a little bit. There we go. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, she was chaining together some good combos where, leaving the body kick on the end of them. Always like that when they do maybe a 1-2 punch combination and then get the body kick out there. And it was working pretty well for her, for Diana, that is. But man, you guys, I'll tell you, though, this one frustrated me a whole lot for the simple reason. And, I think that we can mostly be on the same page here. You guys who are, reoccurring viewers, we're kind of in the same boat, I think, of fights or fighters who, and it's for me, we talked about this, the last episode, whenever Priscilla Cachoeira is fighting. But if you're a fighter who has this potential to, if you don't do what easily gets you the win, why aren't you doing it, kind of thing? Because from Diana, we didn't get a single takedown attempt throughout this entire fight. Not one. Not a single shot. No glimpses of wrestling. Lara actually kind of surprised with an attempt there at the beginning of the first round, but Diana defended very well. And then at the last 10 seconds, she had a body lock, but didn't really commit to it too much. But this frustrates me so much because Diana has the wrestling background. She always talks about it. Hasn't gotten to show it off whatsoever in Bellator yet. She said, so I guess maybe I'm just bitter that she lied to me. She lied to me in our interview before the fight, but she said, yeah, she was going to show it off this time. And she hadn't been able to because she just, has shoulder surgery to fix an injury she'd had for her entire career. So that was kind of a reason she was unable to wrestle and hit takedowns and do kind of what she wanted as comfortably and as easily. So this was going to be the one. And against Alejandra Lara, who is, a fairly talented striker, talented enough to get to where she was, fight for the title and whatnot, has been susceptible to talented wrestlers. So in theory, should have been a much, much easier, cleaner victory for Diana than it was here. But she was still able to be competitive enough with someone like Lara, and maybe to Lara's detriment, where Lara seemed a little bit less active than we're used to seeing as well. So maybe that kind of hurt her. Obviously, she ended up losing, but I thought it was still enough in those final 2 rounds. Just more impact on the shots. She was landing in a bit. She would flurry every now and then too, and seem to connect. And again, this from my perspective of being in the arena, so I don't know how it came off on TV. And the judges, they did have their monitors, so they had both perspectives as well. As you know, sometimes not all the judges get monitors, so it was good to see that. In California, they generally are up to par. But yeah, I mean, it was a good fight. It was a fun fight, close one, obviously. I'm not like complaining about this. I don't think it was a robbery, but yeah, I thought Lara did enough to win. So big bummer for her. Not sure Bellator cuts her just because she's generally pretty fun, but 4 in a row, that ain't good. That ain't good. And she's obviously good personality, good good market behind her with Colombia. You know, a different. It's always fun to have the different and exotic places. But yeah, I want to see that wrestling from Diana. I want to see her mix it up. She got lucky. He got a little bit lucky this time around, but the fact that she was able to even hang the way she did with the striking specifically against the superior striker, in theory, that's a pretty good sign. So we'll see. I'm very still curious and excited to see what is next for Diana Afsaragova before she moves on to whatever is next. In theory, maybe a top 10 opponent. But real quick, I forgot, you guys. You got to remind me. I'm still trying to get in the rhythm of the rating system. So for Oshima versus Hong, real quick on that one, I would give that fight a pretty solid, like 7.5 range, 7 to 8. It's right in there. I really enjoyed that one. And then as for this one, it was pretty fun too. Not as much though, because the grappling was all over the place. But this was a good 6 for me. It was fun. It was frustrating though because of that lack of wrestling, like I said. So yeah, definitely recommend checking them both out, though. So, and going back to the Eru versus Oshima possibility, Jimmy says, "Can't Eru just get up against Oshima?" Probably not. Probably not. Um, Rio says, "Was this on Paramount?" I was trying to find it. YouTube should have been on YouTube. Just says, "What takedowns should Diana have tried?" I mean, anything honestly would have helped, but I think a blast double against the cage, she had her backed up a couple times there, would have been good. Shoot in there, maybe even a single. But like I said, she did go for she had the body lock at the end of the round, at the end of the fight, like the last 10 seconds, she locked up the underhooks for both and had a possibility there, but didn't really commit to it. So I think she probably would have got it if she wanted to, but and I thought for a second too, when she was defending in the first round, that she was going to hit a toss, because Laura kind of got behind her, but no. Jin says, for the ratings, would 7 to 10 be must watch? Yeah, I would say so. 3 to 6 is good watch, but not necessary. 1 to 3 blank screen is better to watch. I'd say maybe 4 to 6 range, because 5 is like just fine, right? It's just fine. You can go without it, but it's worth it to a degree, right? It's right in the middle, obviously. So, but then yeah, 1 to 3, that's kind of like not very good, obviously. So I think I'd maybe go 4 to 6 range is kind of that middle there. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, you're right on par there, Jen, I would say. So, all right. So those are our recaps for the day. Yeah. Afsaragova, Lara, pretty solid 6, I would say. Oshima versus Hong. To give a concrete number, I'll go 7. It's a good 7. Yeah. That was a fun one. I did enjoy it. And just go watch the fight to see how big the goddamn cage is, because it's pretty huge. It's pretty huge. We haven't had any, I don't think any of the actual fights that have happened have gotten ratings that low yet, but we have gotten some of the announcements and matchmaking. I remember I gave Rin Nakai's next fight a 2, if you guys remember, when we were talking about the matchup. In the news section, that one got a 2 rating. But all the fights that we've had since then, since doing the rating system, have actually turned out pretty good. They turned out pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. See how many of you get that reference. James says, was I sad for Fedor? Because I was, of course. You can't not be sad about it, for sure. I was definitely sad, but at the same time, I wasn't as sad as I could have been, because I think we all knew that was going to happen. Like, unfortunately, I think we all knew that was going to happen. Like, I was talking to one of my buddies about this. Like, I have no idea what Fedor was thinking, man. Like, because it was him. It was all him that wanted to do the Bader rematch. Like Coker wanted to do something fun, one of the legends kind of fights. I don't know. Fedor wanted this one for whatever reason. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense unless he genuinely thought he could pull it off. I don't know. I mean, I guess he obviously did, but I don't know. I don't know. It's a weird one. Yeah, Ghost, exactly. How is one not sad for Fedor? That's the best way to put it. Let's just leave that up. Let's just leave that up for a little bit. No, okay. It's Tactical Tuesday time. So we will carry on here. And I put Tactical Tuesday here this week because I thought it was very fitting. I should have just done this right after Oshima versus Hong because it's a grappling edition of Tactical Tuesday. So it rolls perfectly behind that fight. Because yeah, it was good old Scramble Fest. So again, check that one out. It is on YouTube now. Oshima versus Hong. But let's get tactical. Yeah. All right, with our copyright disclaimer, under the Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for the fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarships. Yeah. We're talking about the sucker drag today. It is a great tactic to take the back off a sprawling opponent. Yuri has sprawled over Glover after Glover has attempted a single leg. Yuri attempts an anaconda choke, which makes him vulnerable to a sucker drag. Glover ignores the threat of the anaconda choke to build a base. There you go. He's not too bothered. Yuri's not rolling. Glover shifts his left leg to angle himself for the sucker drag. Glover turns his head and grabbing an arm drag grip with his left hand. Glover finishes the sucker drag by throwing his head over Yuri and takes his back. Wonderful stuff there from G-Tex. That's the nickname. I remember somebody was saying Glover T. It's G-Tex. That's the nickname. That's the short one. Whenever we were talking about that the last time. Everyone at MMA knows how to sprawl. Should more fighters learn to sucker drag to counter the sprawl? I mean, yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a great move, a great drag to know. But it's also a little bit situational though here, Ghost, right? With the maybe easier with the anaconda attempt or the lock on there, the grip with Yuri having that to have the arm there. I don't know if you'd say it's easier, but I guess you just kind of have it. It's more in a controlled single spot, right? As we see right here, as opposed to, let's say, Yuri just sprawling and having it around above his arm and his shoulder. You know what I mean? Then it doesn't really work that way. At least not that I can remember seeing. So, and yeah, then he gets his own arm there. But yeah. It's I mean, clearly it's a great way to get out of there and get people off of you. So can't really go wrong. But Chin says grappling. He likes grappling. We all do. Good old copyrights. Jimmy says, did you think that Yuri versus Glover wasn't as technical as Ghost seems to make it out, since we get a lot of breakdowns with it? That is true, isn't it? We got some stuff from there. I don't think I'd say it was the most technical fight, but it clearly had some good technical utilizations, if that makes sense, right? You can have a fight that shows off some good things, and right, like some good strikes or sequences of grappling can happen in a fight that's maybe a little bit crazy overall, which I think that one was. But yeah, there were some clear bright spots to look at in that one. But no, I don't think it's like a technical masterclass throughout the whole thing. It's not like Gamrot Sarukian or anything specific like that. Maybe, that's a pretty high level, though, I would say, in terms of an example. James Glover T was my bid. G-Tex is way better. Too bad he retired. I know we're too late with that one, but I remember seeing that one a whole lot on my Sherdog days. So yeah, as Ghost is very contextual, as we would also say. There you go. There you go. Context is key in a lot of things. So, all right, you guys, let's breeze on through the news now. As we do, we're making pretty good time here at the 45 mark, as we are going to make up for the last 2 weeks, like I said. And there's actually not as much as I would have thought, and very well could have missed some stuff. So if you guys feel like throwing it at me because I missed it, because again, traveling makes it a little bit harder to stay up to date with everything. But this is what we got. This is what we got from here. That's a good hit with the yawn bug. Sorry, guys. Ugh. There we go. Back in the swing of things. So, all right. But to kick off the news today is a bantamweight rematch. So, one that caught me off guard a good bit. As Raquel Pennington will be rematching Irene Aldana at UFC San Antonio on March 25th. And this was originally going to be the main event, but they have since changed that, which kind of bums me out a little bit. But I guess because I mean, Cheeto and Sanhagen, they deserve a crowd. Yes, they do. But they already had their 5 rounds. Let's let the ladies have their 5 rounds, give them the shine. I mean, clearly the entire reason this fight was made was because the UFC does not want to give Rocky another title shot yet. They do not want her to have her Nunes rematch. First fight was not competitive. Yeah, it's very, very clear. And, Raquel, not the most sellable challenger, even without that stuff. I mean, that was like one of the worst pay-per-views they've done in a long time. That card was great, though. If I'm remembering correctly, that was the Brazil card, right? I forget the number, but that was a fantastic card. But yeah, tanked real bad. Real bad for UFC pay-per-view buy rates. But Raquel Pennington is very clearly like the number 1 contender right now. Like she's won 5 in a row, just beat Ketlin Vieira. Very close, admittedly, very close. But like, she deserves the next title shot at this point, pretty clearly. Like, no one's on that kind of streak in the division. Look at who she's beat. If she beats Aldana, then it's like, all right, well, I mean, what more do you need? Need her to, I don't know, beat Holly, even though she hasn't been able to do so twice. Like, yeah. And then for Aldana, like this, if Aldana wins, 100% guarantee she's getting a title shot. She did lose to Rocky in a very close fight. Their first time that they fought, I believe that was 2019 now at this point. And yeah, obviously Aldana got our knockout of the year in 2022 for WMMAnia. Fantastic stuff with the up kick to the body liver shot that put away Macy Chasson. Like, this is a weird one for me in terms of all these things I just mentioned. But as a matchup, I'm pretty, I'm pretty curious to see how Aldana approaches it, because I'm pretty sure this is her first rematch. First fight was close. Again, I would have liked and been interested in the 2 extra rounds, honestly. So the fact that it's 3 kind of takes away from it a bit. First fight wasn't super memorable necessarily, but I'm very curious about the adjustments, again, that can be made from Aldana. Just love watching Aldana in general. Closer than ever to a title shot. It seemed like she was going to just get it. That's what it sounded like was going to happen. Apparently not, obviously. I think she will come out very motivated for this and make some good adjustments. So it's a weird one, though, with all these factors about this fight. It's a 6. It's a 6 for me. Like, I get it, but like Nunes, they better not. All I'm going to say is they better not do the Pena trilogy, right? I'm going to blow my mind. It's going to blow my mind. Apparently, though, I saw somebody tweeted at me that Nunes said she wanted this fight to happen to like decide the contender or something weird like that. So I don't know. If that's true, then okay. As long as Nunes does not do like a Pena trilogy in the meantime, then I'm okay. Like, sure, let's do this. Whatever. You want to take a break, champ? Fine. But we do not need that trilogy fight. So it's a solid 6 for me. I think I'm more intrigued than disappointed. Because again, I'm not super like interested in a Rocky versus Nunes title fight rematch either. But hey, if you've earned it, you've earned it. That's how I've always been. And Raquel Pennington's definitely earned it at this point. So that's where we're at. Would I love to see Aldana more? Absolutely. But we're not there yet, I guess. We'll be with this one. We will be with this one. Don't even question it. All right, then we move on to the 115 pounders. As at atom weight, Stan Fairtex is back in MMA, ready to take on Elise Anderson at One Fight Night 10, May 5th in Denver, Colorado, the U.S. debut show for the promotion, one championship, that is. Yeah, this was pretty fine. I mean, they were both contestants or competitors in the tournament that One Championship did last year, right? Elise Anderson still has no, she's fought since the Hirata loss, right? I'm completely blanking on who it was or if she won. Let me look this up. I can't not. Let's have some you know, be good at hosting a show, Drake. What are you doing? Oh, the Ashiroka Triangle. That's right. Just 2 minutes. Okay. Yeah. That was in May. So it's been a while. All right. Cut me some slack. I couldn't even remember what happened 2 weeks ago. So couldn't remember May. Don't blame me there, do you? So, yeah. I mean, stylistically, this one should be very fun. Elise Anderson, was a very big atom weight, 105-pound atom weight. So not as big as straw weight, but still just a lengthy frame on her. Obviously going to be the lesser of the two strikers in this matchup, so she'll probably want to get things to the ground. Has a pretty solid ground game in her own right. But Stamp has obviously taken MMA pretty well, so I think that she'll be able to hang there for the most part. But yeah, I mean, I have nothing wrong with this one. There's really nothing bad to say about this one. Makes sense. It's fine. They're trying to get their way back to the title contention area. So yeah, I like this fight. Should be fun. Solid 7 for me. I think this will be a good one. Stamp fights are always pretty fun, whether you agree with her winning or not, like the last time out. But yeah, I think this one should be good. They're always in pretty good fights, both of these girls. So there we go. A good addition to the U.S. debut. So, all right, as we move along now to some PFL stuff. The PFL officially is hosting the featherweight division in their 2023 season this year, which we did talk about flyweight, I believe, on the last episode. It's great. I'm all for that. Featherweight, it's okay. It's all right. It's not so much. It's better than 155, which no confirmation that it's gone away yet, but that seems like a pretty clear indication. And what makes that an even clearer indication? Like, I don't know why they aren't just straight out saying that, but you have now Larissa Pacheco versus Julia Budd in the 2023 PFL 2 co-main event on April 7th in Las Vegas, Nevada at featherweight, right? Kicking off that season. So there's a couple things about this here. There's a couple things about this matchup here where our ratings will come in. But I don't understand, and I'd be absolutely pissed, absolutely livid. Maybe not livid, but I'd be pretty upset if I was Larissa Pacheco. And like, I don't, how stupid, how boneheaded of a move from the PFL to put her in the co-main event, of this season kickoff behind heavyweights Ante Dalia, yes, he has a pretty decent Croatian following and whatnot. Jurgen De Castro, yeah. Former UFC guy, was in Eagle FC, whatever. Larissa Pacheco just beat your biggest superstar. Literally the person your foundation, your organization, I mean, she is the foundation of the promotion was built around. And you put her in the co-main event behind these guys. No offense to them whatsoever, but like, what a slap in the face, man. And like, not even a care to try and build off of her name and the momentum she built and her champion status. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And you cannot use the excuse. There is no excuse for saying, well, it's the heavyweights are heavier than the featherweights or whatever the UFC logic is for when they do theirs, right? Where the heavier weight class goes above the lower weight class. Doesn't apply here. Larissa Pacheco was just in the main event above the heavyweights last season. What are you doing? People are gonna be like, "Oh, that's the chick who beat Kayla Harrison," when they see her in the main event. But she's not in the main event. Unless they're gonna sell this doubly, like really focusing on both, which they should. But why not just make it the absolute spotlight? And Julia Budd too. Both of which you could argue are more notable names. Julia Budd and Pacheco are more arguably notable names than Ante and Jurgen De Castro. Just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get that. I don't get this order here of the co-main event and main event for that event. That's annoying to me. And then, like, putting Julia Budd in this fight too, like, she just lost to Aspen. Questionable, right? I know a lot of people thought that Julia should have won. I think I'd slightly agree with that. It was very close, though, not a robbery. But she's coming off the loss. Where's Aspen, lad? Why not do it with her? I know she's probably going to be in the tournament anyways, obviously. But all right, just make that one. Why wouldn't you do that just right out the gate here? You know, you did all these other pretty fun fights, except for the Marlon Moraes continued murder. I don't know why they hate him so much or why they're letting him get murdered the way he is. Yeah, I there's just a lot of there's no logic really with any of this whatsoever. And I love Julia Budd as well. I like the matchup. You know, as a matchup, that's the thing I like most about the fight. Everything else around it can fuck right off. Like, I kind of hate it. I kind of really hate it. But as a matchup, I think it's a pretty decent, interesting matchup. Julia Budd, obviously, still one of the best in the world at featherweight. Still very talented. Pacheco, clearly a brute force at the moment. Definitely still leaning her at this point to win. Julia will need to really, really close that distance and grind out Pacheco. But yeah, all the things around this, it kind of really hurts it for me. So, I'm gonna say 5 at best. At best, we're just right. That's purely from like the matchup itself. You know what? No, all the outside factors, I'm going 4, maybe even 3. It really pisses me off. the main event thing specifically, it's a 3. I dropped pretty drastically there, but this is a 3. That annoys me, and the 3 is purely based off of the matchup. But all these other things, no good, no good. I don't know what's going on with that. Yeah. Why is it whenever you guys notice this, whenever there are featherweights involved, why am I so triggered? Doesn't matter what promotion it is. This fucking division is just stupid. And I'm not saying the fighters are stupid. They're not. I like a lot of them. I really do. So let me clarify. But all the shit around this weight class has just been, I need to breathe, calm down. I just cannot handle talking about the things, the politics or whatever goes into this division anymore. No matter the organization, like UFC, I've expended all my frustrations with that, but now it's leaking over into the PFL, and Bellator has been kind of dropping the ball lately, which we talked about in the last episode too. Like, the featherweight division is just continually getting more and more disastrous. There were some defendable things in Bellator for a good bit there, but some of the matchmaking has obviously gotten pretty ridiculous as well. I just don't know what to say anymore. I really don't. I really do not. But that's your news, everybody. That's your news for today's episode. Hope you enjoy seeing me get worked up. If you want to know how to work me up, just go into featherweight talk. My goodness. I can't handle it. I really cannot handle it. So, how's everybody feeling about the news? Ghost says it was talking about Glover and Yuri again. It was sloppy, but tons of technical nuance where both were dog tired. So yeah, it's good stuff. Very true. Barton says it's not the women, but thoughts on McGregor, Chandler, tough coaches. I'm fine with it. I mean, no, here's the only thing I'm not fine with about this is I don't want to have to wait to see Michael Chandler fight until 6-7 months from now. That part annoys me. I don't like that. Like, I know the fight is not officially booked. Yes, Dana saying it's going to happen, but there's clearly no contract signed unless they sign contracts to fight without having a date and stuff in mind because of how far away that'll be. And Connor's not even in the testing pool. He can't sign a contract. He can't fight until he gets tested for 6 months. So yeah, the fight's not even officially official. It's agreed to, obviously. But yeah. I'm just annoyed. I think everything about it's fine. I like it. All right, it's a tough one for Connor to come back to. Will be an entertaining season, no doubt about that. But I just don't like that Chandler will not be fighting for half the year now. That part frustrates me. James says, so not Rocky P, R Pen, maybe. I've never heard that one. But that's kind of funny. I don't know why, but I do like Rocky P. As Rain says, didn't Rocky just fight a couple days ago? A couple days, is it a few weeks ago? Yes, she beat Ketlin Vieira by split decision. Ghost says, I hope Aldana wins this one. She has a right straight to the body, so I gotta marry her. In all seriousness, Aldana has better looks for Nunez anyway. Yes, very true. I think that's pretty clear. Jen says the only fight that Aldana really looked bad in was Holly Holm. Absolutely. We talk about cage position a lot, and Aldana did nothing to cut the cage off on Holm and fought her the way Rousey did. Yeah, that was it was real bad. It was real bad. And we can, if you want to blame that on Aldana's broken foot, tell me what you think about that. But she did have a broken foot in that fight. So yeah, it was pretty out of character for her. James has earned it. You earn it, even if the way the fight isn't conducive to being competitive. You're kind of confusing me with that one. James Ghost says 2 weeks ago we talked about if it works, it's good in reference to Aldana. Ronda's boxing worked. Sean Strickland parrying and reaching for jabs for one leg works. Just because something works doesn't mean it's good. It just means it hasn't been exploited yet. Good in context, right? It's all contextual again. Thank goodness Pereira exploited Strickland's habit. Very true. I don't understand that thought process of if it works, it's good. It works, it's good. Well, then why wouldn't it work then? That's kind of the thing, right? Usually, if something works, no, I guess not all the time, right? You can make that comparison to, like, I don't know why this went into my head, but if a leaky sink is working, that doesn't mean it's good because it's still working, but it's not working good. So I don't know. That's actually, you're making me think a little bit here, but gets the job done. I guess that's a better way to put it. Jen says Larissa fighting at 145 is a step up from fighting 155. It sure is. Jane says, I'm new to the show, but aren't heavyweights in 145 the worst divisions in the world? Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. Out of real divisions, Jaden? Yeah, I think that's probably fair. Yeah. I mean, that's funny you point that out. Rain says, honestly, Drake, anything above middleweight and any promotion is not good. And women's 145 doesn't exist. I don't know about that. I like the light heavyweight division a good bit. Jimmy says, I want to parlay to what Ghost and James are saying. If you want a razor close decision and the loser's efforts and momentums are the rightly discounted, like T-Bell versus Habib, No, I don't think there's any discrediting going on. Like, I scored that fight for Ketlin too, and yeah, no, I think in those cases, like, no, there's no like stock loss or anything. Barton says, but doesn't waiting for someone to fight make the Chandler fight even more exciting since you were looking forward to it? That's a good point. That is true. Makes you really, really itch for it and anticipate. But again, I always like to see my favorites fight as often as possible. So it's good build up for sure. That's a great point, Barton. But for me, yeah, I like to see him be active, man. Goes so Andrade attacking with her chin up in the air is good to you. Didn't say that. Not that specifically, but the attacks parts work, right? Don't you think it's because people haven't exploited what Andrade does? Sure, yeah. But again, she's getting away with it. That part, not good, right? But the stuff that comes along with it, right? Like, let's say it's the same, but she tucks the chin ghost, then you'd feel different about it, right? So, yeah. All right, let's get to our previews to close up the show now. 2 events to get into: UFC 284 in Perth, Australia, and then Deep 112 Impact, the return of a legend over in Japan. So we'll kick off with UFC 284. Just one fight on this one, and it's one of the fan favorites, right? Everybody loves a little bit Loma Luke Boonmay. Did I not click the tab? What's going on? There we go. As she faces Elise Reed. And I feel like we've already seen this fight for some reason. I feel like this has happened already. I don't know. I'm having some weird deja vu with this one. Maybe I've seen the future. Maybe I know how this is going to go. I guess we'll have to wait and see. And now I'm being corrected here by Tapology. I've seen this a couple times. Like, are there 1 E or 2 E's on the end of Loma's name? I always thought it was the 2, but then I see some places only have the 1. What's going on, Loma? I know it's not even your real name, but how many E's we rocking with there at the end? So something that I've just noticed. But we have Loma as the minus 275 favorite, certainly fair, to the plus 230 underdog of Elise Reed. 5-1 versus 5-3, 61.5 versus 63. As you guys know, this is just an atomweight fight fought at 115 pounds. 100% what this is. Both of these fighters should be at atomweights. They are true atomweights. They'd be atomweights if the UFC, had the division. They were when they weren't in the UFC. So that's, all you need to know. Loma Luke Boonmay obviously has phenomenal Muay Thai. She's from Thailand, so that's self-explanatory. She would look to utilize that. Has great knees in tight or clinch. Very nasty work. Rips to the body with those kicks. Getting better on the ground, but still kind of a weak point for Elise Reed. I don't know if she'll try to exploit that as much as she needs to, but that will obviously be what she needs to do. Has a pretty solid right hand, continually, blast that off, as we saw in her Corey McKenna fight. Was a big highlight or key to the victory in that one. Don't think she has enough power to really stifle or hurt Loma necessarily, but it will be something to look out for. Ultimately, though, I think that Loma's it's her Muay Thai is just beautiful to watch. She does everything very well. It's all very clean, very tight. She's been doing it her whole life. Maybe we'll see some more wrinkles with the grappling thrown in there. Like, why not? Why not mix it up? She's been a pretty smart fighter. Again, I say this every time we talk about Loma, but the thing that holds her back from having maximum success as a fighter in the UFC is the fact she's just too small. She really is too small and will not be able to handle the bigger, better wrestlers. Like, they're just such a blatant kryptonite. And we've seen that with people who aren't even huge ones, like Loopy to go. She's not even the best not even close to the best wrestler. I mean, she's a good one, and not even one of the bigger ones either. So like, yeah. And then Angela Hill, obviously that was a while ago now, but when was that? 2 years, almost 3 years ago now. So yeah. Again, it's always going to be an uphill battle for Loma, even though she's still just 27. Maybe she can get past it eventually, but yeah, rightfully favored here. Like she's always going to win these matchups. She is about as perfect of a non-top 15 gatekeeper as you could ask for at strawweight. At atomweight, she can be a legitimate contender, maybe even champion, which bums me out, man. Bums me out to think that we were missing out on atomweight Loma. So we look at the fan votes here of 1,352 people. My goodness, a whopping 89% believe Loma's going to get it done. Yeah, I feel pretty confident too if I was to. Not making a prediction necessarily, but I think the lean is right, which I mean, I kind of give that away when we talk about the odds, don't I? So we'll see. It's always fun to watch Loma work, though. Not much of a finisher, but she brings the goods. She brings the goods if you like that technique and whatnot. So, James says, go Loma. She's the right person for winning by decision. Yeah, some money there. Rain says, no, Reed fans, just Loma haters. Yeah, I mean, perhaps. I think, yeah, a lot of people, I've never seen anyone hate on Loma, so that's for sure. Plus, Loma was training with Whaley on her back and wrestling, so what can Reed do in grappling? Yeah, like that's the thing is I think she will need to try and do that to, grind out Loma, but I just don't see that happening, especially the more that Loma continues to work with Whaley and just people on her grappling in the grappling department and strengthen that against bigger people. Like that's what she should be doing is training against the fighters, like types of fighters who are awaiting her if she's to climb the ladder, right? Like I think about just matchups like Kanako and yeah, even Whaley, like you said there, it's just not going to be good for her. And imagine like one day, let's say Loma was to climb up there and then end up fighting Whaley. It's like, well, that kind of sucks though, because now Whaley is even more ready for that because she helped her get there. Like, I don't foresee that happening, but just in theory, like imagine that kind of situation. Crazy. Jimmy says, doesn't training at Bang Tao highly regarded gym help Loma? So if Loma loses, it's her fault. Well, I mean, that's kind of an interesting way to look at it, Jimmy. You could say, I mean, it depends on where you want to put the blame, I guess, but you can put it on, you could always say it's always the fighter's fault. Of course they have their teams, but it's only them in there. So you could say that about every single person. Even though I don't know what you can say in terms of, it's an interesting perspective, I guess. But Cintro says, who is Reed sparring with? Who is almost sparring with? Whaley, that's it. Yeah, I know that Elise Reed is Vegas based now, right? I know it says Princeton here, but I think she's been like Extreme Couture or somewhere in Vegas lately. I'm not sure. I don't know who she's sparring with. And then if Loma's only sparring with Whaley, I'm not sure about that either. So Jimmy says, well, what can Reed do in striking if she's working with Mungbo and Whaley in striking? That doesn't sound good for Reed. No, I mean, even without them, like it wouldn't be good for Reed. So she's got an uphill battle in this matchup. She just kind of has that right hand that she's going to time, and it's pretty quick. She's got a pretty quick right hand and packs some good power with it, but I just don't think it'll be anything Loma hasn't seen before, honestly. So Jimmy says, and you mentioned Kanako. Of course, love Kanako. So wrestling should be on point, right? Despite this. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, they probably did do some training together, didn't they? That is even funnier that I mentioned that as like one of those matchups that's a terrible one for. I forgot that they probably did maybe do a little bit of training together, didn't they? Huh. That is interesting. Yeah, I mean, she's going to be fine in this one. And the more she's improving, the better. But that's like the area, yeah. So my point is Reed is inspiring with high level people. Well, yeah, not to the same degree. I think that's a pretty safe bet. Can't confirm. You never know. But I think that's a safe bet. Jimmy says, seems like Loma is getting better looks than, yeah, I mean, again, No confirmation there from my end. I'm sure you can maybe find that out pretty easily, but not sure. So, but yeah, I mean, we know who Loma's been working with. So that's our one fight for UFC 284, the big UFC 284 card in Perth, the RAC Center. My goodness, I can't wait for that main event. Gonna be good fun. I might actually, I think I might miss this fight live though, this card, because I have a friend's birthday party. So I'm kind of bummed about that. I'm actually, this is one of those ones that gets me pretty excited, which are hard to come by these days to like a certain degree. But like that's a fight. That main event is one where I really have no idea. I have no idea what to say about how it's gonna go. I'm a Volkanovski believer now. I don't think that's crazy to say. I don't know if he's gonna win. I don't know what's gonna happen, but I think I'm gonna miss it live, which that's a bummer, man. And James says, so why do handicappers think that Loma will struggle in this fight, sparring and working with the best people? She's the favorite, James. I don't know what you mean there. She's a pretty good size favorite. Francis, is it bad that we discount Reed so much is because of Loma's sparring partners in gym? I don't know about that. No. I mean, no, I think that's fair stuff to look at. As goes, we're all Volk believers. All right. There we go. Yeah, you can't not love the great one. But all right. Let's close things up now, you guys, with the Deep 112 Impact preview. We have the return of one of the GOATs. Never thought it would happen. She told me herself that she was not done yet. 45 now, I think. We'll get the ages here in a second. But at micro weights, 97 pounds, Satoko Shinashi is back as she takes on Reina Kobayashi. Crazy. 46 now is Princess, the former Deep and Smack Girl champion. And you want your manipulative matchmaking? Here you go. Here you got it. So 38-4-2. One of the best records in MMA history for the women. One of the most. She's number 2 now, tied. She will go back. This fight will tie her once again with Roxy. She held the record for most fights for a woman in MMA history for a good while. Then Roxy caught up past her, and Megumi Yabushita, I believe. So they're tied for second, but Satoko will go back into that number 1 spot with this fight. One of the smallest fighters of all time, 4'10" versus 5 foot to Kobayashi. Crazy. Didn't think she'd come back. First time since 2019, 3 years ago when she lost to Nisei. Big upset there, obviously, despite the age. But Shinashi coming back. And again, this isn't really a fight that we're breaking down here or previewing. They're just kind of pointing it out and highlighting it because Satoko is a legend, man. She's one of the best of all time. She's got the record to prove it and the accomplishments to prove it. The submission game. She's never really been much of a striker. Pretty one-trick pony-ish, but a true pioneer. And that's kind of what you get with some of those fighters. And 46 now. Don't know how old Reina is, but you look at the comparison of competition here. She lost to Mizuki Furuse, who, Mizuki's not too great her own right. This was within the past year. Asumi Suzaki, and has a Minigawa win, Senna, and then she beat one of the oldest fighters competing in MMA today. My God, Yusuko Tamada. Split decision. Yusuko's like 56 now. I don't even know how old she is, but Yusuko Tamada has been around forever. My God. And now she's going to fight another, pioneer. So, you know what Shinashi wants to do? She wants to get to the ground, work for the ankle, work for the heel hooks, whatever limb presents itself, she will attack for it. That is always the bread and butter. Plenty of arm bars on her record. but obviously been able to get some TKOs in her day in her last 3 wins there. But let's see if we got predictions on this one. Yeah, there we go. Of the 57 people, we got the Shinashi believers. I think she'll get to submission, 26% of them. And some belief in Kobayashi too. Of course, it's like if you're picking Kobayashi, it's only because you believe in that the age, the layoff, all that stuff is too much of a factor. Because on paper, this of course should be a walk in the park, manipulative matchmaking, layup for the legend to get the job done after 3 years. And who knows? Maybe it's a retirement fight. Maybe she is secretly planning to retire. But either way, it's always cool and special. I never thought I would get to see Shinashi fight. When she's one of those fighters, right, where you never thought you'd get to see them fight live or during your fandom, right? So got to appreciate that. Got to appreciate that. So yeah, that's going down this weekend as well. As James says, did I know that Volk also owns Bang Tao? Was revealed on UFC Embedded. I had no idea that he was a part owner or what have you. Not embedded by the Countdown Show. Oh, there you go. Rain says, I'll go back to the sweetest counter, Carla, because she wasn't working with the high level people. You said we should give more credit for how she fought. Turns out everyone is right. I still believe that. I still believe you should give her credit for, her wins and whatnot. I mean, let's see. There are plenty of examples of people who didn't have Greg Jackson, Winklejohn, Super Gyms, ATT that have been champions, right? Like, I mean, look at Whaley before going to those places. Look at Carla becoming champion the first time. Look at Stipe. No one really, highly credits his team. There are plenty of examples. Even Yuri. There are so many you can choose from there. Yeah. And James says, we hate manipulative BS. There you go. Spartan says, how does one prevent manipulative matchmaking? You guys seem to love that termination or terminology. Well, I think the best way to prevent it, and we've talked about this, I think, for Emi Fujino's last fight, was it's got to be on the fighter who's in that position to decline it, right? Like I don't put as much of the blame on the fighter involved because the promotion is the one setting it up and asking for it, right? Trying to make it happen, So I think that's really the only way to do it because there's not much of a reason for them to say no, depending on what they want from either end. Of course, the fighter who is the weak side, it's a huge opportunity if they can win. If they win that fight, it's massive for them and then completely backfires the plan. Very difficult to do, but yeah. Cintro says, do I consider Bang Tao a super gym? It's not really a super gym. No, I would not say so. Yeah. As Jimmy says, Bang Tao, Yuri was at Bang Tao for his title fight, so you can't use that as an example. But he wasn't his whole career, though, or most of his career. Like, he just popped on in there. Right? So that's kind of what I mean. But there's plenty of examples anyway. As Barnes can the fighters say no to manipulative BS if they don't know it. If they don't, well, I mean, well, I mean, yeah, there would be no reason to say no, I guess, if they don't know it necessarily. But yeah, it's a pretty weird concept to be confronted with. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, why wouldn't you take an easy payday? Depending on what your beliefs or intentions are going forward, I don't know. Ultimately, though, like I said, I believe it falls much more on the promoters or whoever's offering that than the fighters themselves or the fighter who is supposed to go over. Because, again, if you're the person in the other position, yeah, hell yeah. Why would you not take that? No one's going to believe they're going to go out there and get smashed like they're supposed to. Supposed to. So it's always a very interesting dynamic, but Yeah. Reigns says, but we were right in discrediting Carla in that matchup, right? I mean, I don't think you need to ask about that. As Reigns says, look, we know Carla is good, just not for that matchup. Yeah, I mean, that was proven. So that's one of those cases where it's not opinion. It is not opinion. We have factual evidence with our eyeballs. We saw how that played out. So yeah, I mean, 100%. But all right, you guys, we have reached that point. We are at the end of the show. Good solid run. Good solid show back here today. Covered lots of bases. Got me fired up on this return. I think that's what it needed. Maybe a little bit of a refresh. Took a break and good to roll. And we'll be back for episode 50 next week, next Tuesday. What is it? Is it Valentine's Day next Tuesday? My goodness. All right. Well, figure out some plans. Nothing special for the show, but outside the show, you know what I'm saying. So, all right, you guys, don't forget to visit WMMAnia.com for all your MMA needs. And please, at the very least, like if you're not following, sharing, or subscribing on all our platforms. The like button really goes a whole long way. Just one click. Doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt at all. And there's even that notification bell so you don't miss us when we're live. If you aren't already here for the 12 p.m. Pacific time start that we have every Tuesday, that'll help you out. So yeah, as for shameless plugs and whatnot, nothing locked and loaded in the chamber, ready to fire. Have something I am working on, very history related, kind of maybe about somebody we talked about today. Coming up soon. I still need to craft it properly, but yes, that's kind of what is in the chamber at the moment. Not sure how well I hinted or spoiled right there, but that's all right. I'm very much looking forward to getting it out. Very fun, deep in detail story, kind of look at history moments. So please look forward to that, you guys. And, yeah, I guess that's all I can say at the moment. Oh, the music's too loud. Sorry, guys. Jeez. I don't know what happened. All right. Well, so much for everything that I said there. Don't know why that happened. We'll just turn it off all the way. Anyways, you guys, so much for that. So much for my plugs. Yeah. All right. Well, until next week, you guys, enjoy the weekend of action, the big champ versus champ fight, UFC 284. And then if you care about Deep Jewel's 112 Impact, that is also going down. But until next week, I will see you when I see you. Stay safe, stay sane, and take care, you guys.